Good afternoon. I'm going to be discussing Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Human Empathy in a Computerized World. We're going to be discussing what our world is now compared to what Dick described, what nanotechnology is, discussing everlasting pets, empathy or the lack thereof, and then last comparison of phylogenesis to the androids. Let's suppose that the year is 2021. It's not a far cry from where we are today. Will our world look as Philip Dick described in Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Will it be spilling over with radioactive motes, gray and sun-beclouded? Or will it continue to exist as a green and lush planet in which we now live? Is the idea of artificial human beings in the near or distant future? And how real will they be? And will we be able to distinguish them from human beings? I will admit, the novel Androids was difficult to immerse myself in. However, after grasping the vocabulary and being introduced to all of the characters, the plot began to fall into place. Absorbing the idea of electronic animals and androids immersing in our culture doesn't really seem to be too difficult. Why, you say? The idea was introduced to us early in the 1950s and 1960s. Physicist Richard Feynman at the American Physiological Society meeting at Caltech introduced a concept where scientists could manipulate and control individual atoms and molecules, then known as nanotechnology. Hollywood's production of such movies such as the Jaws series, the Terminator series, Bicentennial Man, Artificial Intelligence, and even the Jurassic Park series has given us a glimpse into what we could expect from superintelligent androids, both human and animal. We've seen the development of mechanical animals from crude sharp figures with obvious defects such as Jaws to well-structured and delicate creatures like those found in the Jurassic Park series. Would it be so terrible to have family members or pets that existed forever? Or for humans to never grieve the loss of a beloved pet because of age? Pets for the Elderly Foundation reports multiple benefits to older generations who own pets. Things such as improved physical health, mental health, and socialization that's not otherwise found in isolated elderly population. Dr. Aaron Katcher, a co-researcher at Brooklyn College in New York, stated, "The presence of a pet was one of the strongest social predictors of survival, not just for lonely and depressed people, but for everyone, independent of marital status and access to social support from human beings. By appealing to the human need for love and acceptance, creating animals as androids, almost so perfectly that even the owners would not be able to tell the difference between real and android, by preventing a major grief or loss for the animal when it dies, adults could grow old with the same animal they grew up with as a child." Androids depict a world where every human being possesses a living, breathing animal. Their greatest possession was not money, homes, or even cars as it is today, but their living, breathing animal. According to the Sydney, fair market value of certain animals was priceless because of extinction. Most reptiles, amphibians, and birds were hit the hardest and suffered the greatest loss. When Deckard arrived at the Rosen Corporation, the first item he noticed is the assorted animals in their possession. He had anticipated such a collection, so it wasn't a surprise what he felt, but more sort of a yearning. Rachel, noting his intense interest in the owl of their collection, uses this later as a blackmail device in an attempt to defy her presence as part of an android. The Nexus 6 was a highly advanced android who almost passes as a human when Deckard administers the Voight-Kampff test, an empathy test. The test measures eye muscle and capillary reaction when given certain social situations. Intentionally trying to defraud Deckard, the Rosen Corporation attempts to bribe him by providing him with a supposedly extinct animal, the owl. But Rachel makes a minute mistake. Only a trained bounty hunter like Deckard catches. She keeps calling the owl an it, not a her. The reaction time from social situations should have been immediate. However, after the last question is administered regarding the composition of Deckard's briefcase being made of baby human hide, Rachel's response indicates a reaction. Although not the correct reaction period, there should have been none. This indicated clearly as a created empathetical reaction versus a genuine human empathetical response. Empathy is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. One of the main themes found in Androids is empathy, and it is the crux on which Dick's metaphysical reflection on the meaning of life hangs. In one way or another, all of the characters in Androids, human and android, must face the challenges of empathy. Although Deckard regards androids as thoughtless creatures that are incapable of feelings, he soon realizes that this may very well be untrue. He even concludes to an extent that even humans may be incapable or unwilling to feel empathy. Does this mean humans are capable of being devoid of feelings? Dr. Stanton E. Samenow, a renowned psychologist, researcher, and author of books dealing with the criminal mind, published a blog entitled A Note on the Criminal's Lack of Empathy in May of 2012, where he had an interview with a Minneapolis probation officer where a parolee asked him, "This empathy thing, what's in it for me?" He explained that empathy is totally antithetical to the criminal psychology makeup, for he regards himself as the hub of a wheel around which everyone else must evolve. In Androids, Deckard assumes that the Nexus 6 androids are incapable of feelings, thus making them not only criminals, but a danger to the rest of society. Due to their lack of empathy towards humans and a sudden realization that humans are capable of losing their empathy, Deckard also encounters another bounty hunter, Phil Reisk, who kills just for the sake of killing, not for survival. This philosophy follows the criminal path, rather than the instinctual path of other humans, and genuinely care for and love others. In contrasting and comparing Paul de Filippio's Phylogenesis, both settings are planet Earth, a barren, dry land, damaged beyond repair. In Androids, the Earth is destroyed by a radioactive dust that's devastated all living creatures by suffocation after World War Terminus. In Phylogenesis, however, the planet is invaded by aliens in an attempt to grow their species and decimate the human race. In Androids, it portrays the humans as a dominant inhabitant on Earth and the Nexus 6 androids as being few and learning non-stop to adapt to humans or to be easily exterminated. In Phylogenesis, however, it depicts the aliens as the dominant species, and humans adapting to survive on the planet. While there are similarities, there are also differences in the novel and short story. The main unifying fact is survival and adaptation, regardless of the species. Thank you.